Let's do this thing. Wait.
Let's do it.
I need to open my sparkling water.
Oh, sure. Brag.
It's a Costco brand.
Nice. Nice.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. What's up, fellow learners of the dark arts? My name is Mac, as with me, as always, is Danilo. And Danilo, I have a question for you. I bet there's a not zero chance you could have already guessed what I was going to ask you.
Oh, okay.
If you had to pick a name to describe one of your qualities, if you were going to be king, what would it be?
Fun.
Oh, King Fun!
I'd be King Fun.
Nice. Mine would be King Awesome Good Kisser. That would be mine. So if you you may, I don't know how, but maybe if you're a genius, you may have guessed from that our funny little joke that we're talking about the book The Assassin's Apprentice, which is the first book of the Farseer Trilogy by Robin Hobb. Shouts out to a listener who sent this in as a suggestion for something we should read. We wanted to pivot away from the three-body problem and its sequels for a number of reasons. And I got to tell you, we have stumbled onto gold.
Yeah, this is awesome. We decided to move away from fantasy written by man. No, science. We've decided to move away from science fiction written by man to fantasy written by woman.
Indeed we have. Assassin's Apprentice, published by Spectra in the US and Voyager Books in the UK, came out April 1st, 1995, as I said, book one of the Farseer Trilogy. Now, I was very hesitant to look up any other information about this because I didn't want it spoiled, because I love this so far.
Yeah.
I think this is fucking fantastic.
I've looked up some things, not like about this book, but like about the series. I've had my eye on it for a little bit because like Robin Hobb always comes up in these discussions.
Yeah,
and
she does.
I'm glad we're doing it because like it feels like it's something that's always been like in the middle of my list. It's never been like, oh, I gotta read it next. And so it feels like I don't know if I would have gotten to it as soon as if we didn't do it for this show. I know that this is the first book in the Realm of the Elderlings series.
Yeah, it is.
Which is 17 books, I believe.
Yeah, some of them, there's like a
trilogies, a tetralogy, I think.
Which I think, like, there is one called, like, Fitz and the Fool, which I don't know. Some of that stuff sort of sounds like, oh, it's like little side adventures. Because even there's moments in this section that Fitz talks about what he and the King's Fool have been up to that we didn't see. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's just like weird, funny stories. Because if ever there was a character who was going to be incredibly mysteriously central to something going on, it is the King's Fool in this book. But I sort of wanted to structure this. I didn't tell you about this before we started recording, but I wanted to structure this in in maybe a little bit of a different way. I want to actually try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible for the first, like, little bit. Because, seriously, I think you should read this book. And it's not as if, like, in the past, the books that we have really enjoyed, we sort of needed to talk about spoilers. One, Lord of the Rings is obviously the big one because everybody knows that already. Happens. But the one we also needed to talk in depth about the Dispossessed and spoil that sort of right away. Even though I think actually we did try to keep it spoiler free, but there's a lot going on.
We always say we're going to start with not spoilers, and then we immediately go into spoilers.
Yeah, but this I want to be maybe better about. So just like broad strokes, the story is about It doesn't start right away like this, but it is about a boy who grows up in court and becomes an apprentice to the king's assassin. And he is sort of growing up and learning about not just himself, but also about court intrigue and all this stuff, while sort of having, and this is what I think is maybe the most interesting, like a boy's understanding of what it means to be being groomed to be a vicious murderer. Like, it does not appear to him that he really grasps it, even though the assassin, whose character, his name is Chade, makes it very clear when they first meet that it is all good if you don't want to do this. You will not get in trouble. But Fitz is like, well, I got no other friends. But then I'm like, well, is Chade being manipulative. But Chade seems like a cool guy, so I don't know.
Also, yeah, it's hard because as of now, it's like they're all nice, but also like we're gonna teach you how to be a ruthless killer.
Yes.
And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I just sort of knew of these books, and I read the back, and part of me was like, oh no.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if I
too.
hate fantasy or something, but it seems like, and I clocked that, like, it seems like the most generic,
it really does,
boilerplate,
almost like
thing
Shrek
ever.
Fairy tale,
right?
Because I have a friend of mine who sent me, like, this was a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. He was in a bookstore, and he just was like, you have to read this. And what I've since learned is it was the summary for the second book in this series. And I was like,
oh really?
I was like, oh my god, like, what the hell is this? Now, to be, they never write those. Like, that is always the publisher.
I know.
But, like, even still, okay, the characters their names are wild.
So it's, imagine, so like, you read the back, and it's like, you read, adults you know and respect, and people online say these are really good, and then they're like, oh, what's it about? And you're like, it's a little boy who's sort of the chosen one, and he has secret magic powers, and he's super special, and they train him to be really good at a lot of stuff, and everyone's named after a good quality about them. He's the son of
it doesn't even say that on the back. It's just like the bastard son of Prince Chivalry, the son of King Shrewd, and it's like, oh no.
And his brother Prince Regal.
Yeah,
and
I know.
They're
crazy.
in charge of the kingdom, and there's 6 duchies all vying for power, and you're like, did a 2-year-old write this?
Yeah. But it's so funny because the book, literally the first, so every chapter, the narratorial structure of this book is that the main character, and it's like alluded to, like, perhaps he is like, he's like drugged up in a bed, being maybe forced to write this. There's like a moment where he says something weird to that, but he's writing the history of the 6 duchies, and taking a break from doing that is writing this book, The Assassin's Apprentice.
About his life. He's like, I'm going to write about why I'm so fucked and full of, I'm so tired, so full of spite and hatred. And it all began when I was a little boy. And one of the things I like, my experience is like, I went to the bookstore, I bought the book, I read the back, and I was like, whew, okay. Like, and then I read the little chapter. I'm like, there's 6 duchies vying for power on a continent, and the main place is called Buckkeep, and there's a king, and there's like a castle, and it's like the princess, and I'm like, oh my god. But then I like read the first line, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're fine.
Yeah, I get it.
Because like,
I get it.
It's like immediately the writing. It's crazy how the first line of the book like completely turned me to like, this person knows what they're doing. It's gonna be
it's very on purpose, because it's like, oh, what if it was sort of this fairy tale world, but it's like real? Like, I don't know, there's something about it is incredibly steeped in high fantasy, but there's not like elves and dwarves walking around, but it is very much like there's magic in this world, and on the surface it's a very stereotypical like Vikings versus England-esque fantasy world. But I don't know, there's just something about the way that this book is written, and like the characters, it's so good, and it is so compelling. So no wonder people have been suggesting it forever.
I think based on like, you read the premise and then you read the book, and it's like so grounded, and it feels so real in like a shocking way. Like, I was shocked by how like I'm in it. It feels so real. The characters are all fleshed out. The setting is fleshed out. It feels super real. All the details, like, it's just awesome. Because I just want to say, I think this proves that it's what we sort of said on the show before. Like, it's the writing that makes something good or bad.
Oh yeah,
like
believe it or not, in books the writing is what makes the book good. I don't care if the idea is cool.
That's like a hot take for people. Like, no, the idea, but like, it's the sentences and the details in this book that make this idea work. Because you give and you give most other people the idea of Prince Chivalry and his bastard son who becomes an edgelord who's good at everything. You know, that'd just be like power fantasy schlock. Central.
Yeah. Vin. It could have. This book also has the guts to wait 12 chapters, or I guess maybe like it's like chapter 10 before being like, oh, this is the threat that the
what it's
world is facing. Yeah. But man, there are so many bits where it's just like, God, I have never wanted to be in a fantasy kitchen so bad in my whole life and sop up pork with bread like Fitz loves to do. I love that. Also, even Fitz's name, it's kind of cute. Fitz means son of, you know, in English. Like Fitzgerald, Fitzsimmons means son of Gerald, son of Simmons. His name is just Fitz because he's like a bastard son of this prince, which is very cute.
Well, and it's part of it is the guy who raises him, sort of a straightforward guy. They don't give him a name, or they don't give this bastard kid a name, so they just call him Fitz, which is basically like shorthand for bastard, and everyone knows who it is. Or what it is. So everyone's like, your name is Fitz? Okay.
Yeah, son of no one? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, here's this kid I'm raising. I'm calling him bastard. Everyone's like, okay.
It is funny that, yeah. But you see, that's where a worse writer would have named the main character bastard. And I think we all know who I'm talking about. Okay, so I think that's probably good. I think maybe to get into we can start to get into the specifics now. You should absolutely read this book. You should read the first, if you just turn this on, if you're a fan of the show, you should immediately buy this book. You should read the first 12 chapters. You should come back and then listen to this episode because, oh my God, this book is so
great,
so compelling and so good.
I was reading on Reddit, someone said, like, I think someone was asking like if these are slow, and I think sometimes people say this first one is slow. I never really felt that. No. But it's sort of like the comment said, like, it takes its time. The comment said that, like, the style is so smooth and almost addicting to read. Like, it's just like, it's like beautiful, but also easy to read. So you're like, it like lulls you in, and then you're like in it. It's like, it's like swimming on butter. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that, I mean, it is. It's a really smooth read, and it's very fun to have a book written. You know, like some books in the first person are just like, yeah, there's no reason that this person is like telling this story and it's all in the past. I love a book that like every once in a while, like in the middle of like a sentence, because he is in the future being like, and I would think about what this character said for years and years to come. Like when shit really hit the fan, I was like, oh wow, remember when he told me that thing?
It's not the first person in this isn't a ploy in order to get middle school kids to put themselves in the place of the main character so that they read this book for school.
True. It is not. It's awesome. Okay, so we'll start with the beginning. Like I said, we learn about the... I just wanted to give a shout out. I was writing my summaries for this, and then I needed to Google something that happened because I forgot, and I couldn't find it. And then I stumbled across this group reread message board from 2008 that literally just had the exact same information I had, but better presented. So shouts out to the tapatalk.com group, the Megan Lindholm / Robin Hobb Realm of the Elderlings read along message board. Because I am going to use that because these guys are awesome. And I don't know if they do anything anymore because it was last active in 2018, which I hope they still do because it seemed like there was a real community about Robin Hobb, but I'm not really sure if it exists anymore. She's old. Did you know that? She's like 72. I did not know she had been in the game for a long time. Yeah.
It's crazy. And it's done.
But
Realm of Elderlings
is done. Thank God. So the world of, you know, this book is this continent that is split into 6 duchies, and the duchy, the first one that we learn, and the one where most of this first section takes place in, is called Buck, which was established from this like Viking. They're not like different. Everybody's a human in this world, except there's some sort of monster, I think, or like a fantasy, like goblin creature that has been referred to a few times, but we haven't seen it yet. But they're out islanders because the continent is surrounded by islands, and that family conquered Buck, and they are the Farseers. And their name, they started this naming tradition because the first guy, he took the land, so his name is Taker. And the current king's name is Shrewd because, well, he's shrewd. Then the story starts. The 6-year-old boy gets dropped off at this outpost by like a mean old man who's like, this is the bastard son of the current king in waiting, Prince Chivalry. And that wasn't very chivalrous of him to have a bastard son, right? Am I right? And his he meets the prince, the other prince, so Chivalry's younger brother, whose name is Prince Verity, and he's a nice guy, but he's not as nice and perfect as Chivalry. And then he takes him to a man called Burrich, who is Chivalry's like horse master, dog master. And he's like, all right, you're going to hang out with me, and I'm going to call you Fitz, and we're going to hang out until Chivalry comes back and find out what to do with you. And he befriends a dog whose name is Nosy. Now, he befriends a dog in maybe not the same way that cute. A normal little boy would befriend a dog. Danilo, do you want to describe their relationship?
Yeah, they talk to each other a bunch and talk about video games and talk about girls and...
Yeah, that might have been a big giveaway is that they
talk about the Snyder Cut.
They do. Martian Manhunter's in it. Whoa!
Fitz has this sort of special power that he doesn't understand is a special power, that he can sort of commune with animals.
Pretty cool.
He can like sort of split his brain or go into the mind of the animal or communicate with them like telepathically sort of. So they have this sort of psychic link, and he gets very connected to Nosy this way, and it sort of helps him. It helps him like deal with his new life because like there's a bunch of people he doesn't know. He's been through this tumultuous thing. He doesn't really know what's happening or how important everything is, or because people around recognize him. Some people hate him. Right. Some people don't look at him, and he just sort of doesn't understand because he's like 6.
Yeah.
But his relationship with Nosy sort of helps. Like they run around and they do stable work together.
Yeah.
And he works on the horses and everything.
Yeah, and Fitz's arrival at this keep and like his the fact that he exists brings brings tumultuous times to the royal family because now this is where it gets confusing. So I might be wrong about everybody's relationship here, but okay. So Chivalry has his wife whose name is Lady Patience, and she is unable to have children, and so Fitz could then be recognized as Prince Chivalry's son, which would mean he would be like the next king after Chivalry became king. And this is a threat to both Verity. I mean, Verity doesn't care, but Verity and Prince Regal are Chivalry's brothers. And Prince Regal is pissed off about that because the current queen, the second queen, because the first one died, whose name is Queen Desire, is Prince Regal's mom, but not Prince Verity or Prince Chivalry's mom. And Queen Desire, Prince Regal, they are both very proper and sort of big time douchebags, and they fucking hate a Fitz, especially because, and this will be more important in a little bit, Fitz looks just exactly like Chivalry, so it's like weird that there's like, it feels like there's two of them.
And it's funny because like what we just described is like the setup to every war of succession that like any medieval country has ever had.
Yeah.
The heir doesn't have any children, and so the brothers go to war. Like that's basically it. And so that's what Fitz Fitz's existence is threatening.
And we learn that chivalry abdicates the throne, so it takes both him and Fitz out of the running to be king at some point, and Verity becomes next in line. And Fitz says something curious as the narrator, where he's like, me and my father never ever met. And you're like, never ever? Let me find out later why they never ever met. So
it's interesting because I don't know if you mentioned this detail, but chivalry, he had Fitz with this woman in this village before he was married.
Yeah.
I don't know if you said that.
No, I don't think so.
Right? I thought Burrich was like, oh, he was 20. This was before Lady Patience. He was married to Lady Patience.
Is that what happened? I just thought he just had sex with this woman.
I don't know.
In this village. I'm pretty sure I think that's what happened, because that's why it's such a problem. Like, I don't think they would have cared if it was before. But it was the fact that when they were stationed in this, like, keep, this happened 6 years ago.
All right. That would make sense.
But I could be wrong, I guess. I don't remember. There's like a moment later where Burrich goes into more detail, but I don't recall. So then I
don't want to see any spoilers.
I know. It's because you're gonna Google who's Fitz is real.
Okay, I'm on the wiki. It says chivalry conceived Fitz with an unknown woman while he was in the Mountain Kingdom. He later married Lady Patience against the wishes of his parents.
Oh,
the two have a happy marriage but are unable to conceive an heir. I think part of it, I remember them saying, was the fact that Fitz is there also proves that, like, it's Lady Patience. It's a biological issue with Lady Patience and not.
Oh yeah, true.
Prince Chivalry.
So then the crew go to Buck Keep, which is where most of this part takes place, and he makes friends with these local people, and they don't really matter, but he meets this girl named Molly, whose dad is drunk, and Fitz, Molly's dad is about to beat her, and then he, like, brain blasts this old drunk, and they think that he fucking and Molly reacts strangely too, because listen, they haven't determined this, but Molly has the same exact magical power. Come on, let's be serious.
Really?
Yeah, because later when they're hanging out, remember, they can, like, both quest towards each other, and Fitz doesn't, like, say anything, but he's like, I'm pretty sure she knows I'm here, because whenever I sense towards her, she, like, pulls back, and whenever I pull back, she senses towards me.
Oh, I interpreted that as he's just really sensitive and she could, like, feel her emotions, but I could be wrong.
No, I bet she knows what's up.
I bet she magic power couple.
She's got to be her mom. I don't know. There's no
like,
reason
her
she's
mom
in this story.
died and left.
Yeah. Something's going on.
Oh, and she makes candles, and she's very good at it.
She does, and they smell very good.
I've never wanted, like, one of those. Like, I'm reading about these scented candles, and I'm like,
oh, I know, it's so
man,
good.
I want
it's
a
so
scented
compelling.
candle. And it's, again, I think a lot of the groundedness is there's a lot of, like, scent in this book, which usually authors ignore, especially in fantasy.
I do love that. There's a whole, like, section about how an old woman's poop smell really bad, and I love that.
I love that, guys. It's just what I think every time I
oh my god, I love
sneak into the woman's bathroom and listen to
the old folks home, of course. I'm not a creep. It's the old folks home.
The public restroom at the old folks home,
yes,
where they all use.
He gets in trouble with Burrich for stealing. And he is like, also, you have this weird relationship with this dog. And Burrich refers to it as the old wit. And he's like, you become more beast than man by communing with these beasts. And so to teach him a lesson, he kills the dog.
Kills Nosy. That's so sad.
Kills Nosy. And it's like Fitz's only friend. So that's sad. So now it's just him and Burrich. And they work all day. That's all they do.
I mean, do you think... I mean, I sort of think Burrich was probably kind of right. I don't know how much he knows about this thing, but what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if, like, everybody in this world, we learn later it's not called wit, it's called the skill, is like capital S is what the magic is called. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I guess wit is another way of saying it. Unless they are different, but they sort of seem the same to me. Just one is animals and one is people.
Or like wit is like the old wives' tale version of it. That's
right.
unhoned, and the skill is like the one that like the royals use to like do things.
But Burrich is like, he's like, but look at all this evidence, and he's right. Like Fitz never talks, and he only ever like grunts when he's doing this with the dog. So
he does it for his own good, to be like, hey, if you keep going down this path, especially because he started so young, it'll be, I think Burrich says, like, it'll be a waste of a man if like he just turns into a beast, and so he's doing it for his own good, and it's very sad.
Burrich also has the magic ability, so it's like, well, I'm sure he knows, because there's that moment where I think it might be in the previous chapter, actually, where he kills him. Fitz like tries to affect Burrich with the magic, and then Burrich like shoves him back,
he like
instead.
Rejects it. Yeah.
And
it's like, he's don't do that to me again.
So he can always tell when Fitz is like searching with his mind. He always knows exactly what's happening, which leads me to believe that he's magic.
No, is it Burrich or is it Burrick?
I don't know.
I said Burrick.
I was curious how the audiobook guy sounded, because I heard it was laughably bad, but he pronounced it Burrich, so I don't know. Maybe that's why it's bad. I didn't think it was that bad. But I didn't really listen to it. I read it, so. This is where we learn that, I can say Burrick. That's fine. Burrick, his leg is all messed up because it was like maimed by a boar, and he used to be like a lady killing stud, and now that chivalry has like abdicated the throne, because Burrick was chivalry's guy, now like Burrick is in an uncomfortable situation where
chivalry's man.
Yeah, chivalry's man until I die.
And it's really sad because like this whole Burrick now, like he just like takes care of the animals, and he like keeps trying to heal his leg, and like people aren't talking to him anymore, and because chivalry abdicated, he's like not as important, and he's like getting older, and it's really sad to like see through the eyes of this boy, this like guy having like a rough time.
Yeah, it is.
It's like watching your dad getting older.
It is. And then it makes sense why Burke is so grumpy, because he's got a lot to be grumpy about.
Oh, I gotta take care of this kid, and oh my god, he's got magic power. Jesus Christ. But hey, he does it.
He does do it. And then there's a moment where Fitz is hanging out, and the king and Prince Regal show up, and Prince Regal and the king argue about Fitz, because Shrewd right in front of Regal is like, but I could hone him and use him as a weapon. And Fitz is like right there, like listening to it. He's like, what? Huh? What is he talking about? And Shrewd's like, hey, do you think that Shrewd's like, I will take great care of you and make sure you are well protected, so long as you become like the king's man. He's like, are you willing to do that? And Fitz is like, sure, I guess.
Yeah, Fitz is like 10, right?
Yeah, he is. He might actually be younger than that. Like, he's 6 when the book starts, and then I think it says like a few years pass, so he could be like 8 or 9, which is crazy.
Yeah, the king walks up to you and is like, so, kid, I could hone you into my own personal weapon. I promise you will never be hurt, but I need your undying loyalty until the day you die. And
it doesn't seem that bad at first, because it's just, he's like, oh, I get sweet new clothes, and I learn how to use like a stick. But then one night, a
door appears.
A door appears in his room, and nobody's there. Or no, he is there, I suppose. This is where we meet Chade, the king's assassin, and she's like, "Come along with me, boy." And they walk up the biggest flight of stairs of all time. This guy, he's got crazy scars all over his face and his body, and he leads him to his like secret tower. His secret evil assassin tower, full of weird like mystic artifacts, and there's a little rat who's their friend.
Oh yeah, like a weasel. It's like a weasel who has a name, and there's like powders everywhere and papers that they haven't cleaned up, and candles and everything. It's the most medieval wizard place you could imagine.
It's awesome. And this is where Chade gives Fitz the rundown, and he's like, hey, so what the king meant was that you're going to be the new assassin when I, the oldest man of all time, die. And he's like, okay.
The oldest, most spry man. He can do anything, but he's so old.
Who's constantly, he gets his steps, he goes up and down those stairs all the time, so.
I think it's also funny because Fitz is like, every day, like it's been a couple of weeks of his like full schedule of like in the morning he does all the stable work, and then in the afternoon he does a lot of fighting, and then in the evening he's like, I don't know, when he does more stable work or something. And so now he's like, now at night when you're supposed to be sleeping, we're doing more work.
Yes, he has no time to himself.
He's tired.
He's always so tired, but he's a little boy, he's got that he's got the youthful energy. Chade lets Fitz decide, and he's very honest, and he's like, if you choose this, your life is going to be totally different, and you can never tell anybody, and you're going to have to kill people one day, and it's going to be messed up, but you don't have to, and you can say no, and you can leave right now. But Fitz, he says, I will do it. He's a little hesitant, but he does do it.
And didn't Chade say, like, you could back out later, too, if you want?
Yeah, true, yeah, he did, but just not before. I think that he unable to back out once he's a fully trained assassin. Then It is too late. And Fitz likes Chade. Chade's cool. They like have fun and laugh, and Chade becomes like his friend. And Chade teaches Fitz all about sneaking around, and he's like, he's got tasks that's like, go take a letter from Prince Regal's room and do this and do that.
And I really liked all the little tasks they give him. Like, okay,
it's fun.
Go convince the milkmaid that her dog is dead or something. That's kind of intense, or like turn all the laundry inside out while the washerwomen are putting it up while they're there.
And then it starts like a rumor that there's like a water sprite in the town. It's very funny.
And then he goes like, oh, go talk to this person. And then when Fitz gets back, Chade is like, okay, what were they wearing? What were they cooking? When you were talking to them, like just learning assassin stuff, like Assassin 101.
Yeah.
It's very
he's
cool.
constantly relaying information, word perfect to people. And one day, Chade gives him the ultimate challenge, which is he has to sneak into King Shrewd's room and steal something. And Fitz adamantly refuses because he feels like that would be a betrayal. And his one thing was that he was never going to betray King Shrewd. And then Fitz kicks
he has
his
like a poor break. He has like a whole breakdown over it. He like can't. He like gets nauseous, and he just will not do it. And Chade's like, come on, it'll be fine. I'll put it back. I cleared it. I cleared it with him. And Fitz like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
And he and this is, I think this part is so good and so interesting, because it's like, it shows how convincing Fitz is going to be as this assassin, because there's almost a sense that this is an act. Like
that never occurred to me.
Because he does take it. He does do it later.
But he does it right in front of Shrewd.
Right, when it wouldn't be a betrayal, but he still got it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, like this is an ill omen for this little boy to be so good at everything. Like even like I'm sure he did feel really bad, but the fact that he still managed to complete the assignment is crazy.
Yeah, because it's basically like what happens is Fitz is like, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this, and like cries. And Chade is like, all right, well, if you can't do it, then you're not cut out for this. So we're stopping lessons. And he's
they
like
don't talk to each other
nauseous
for like months.
Days. Yeah,
or maybe just days. Yeah.
And then at some point, Shrewd like calls Fitz in and is like, that was actually my idea. I'm sorry. I'll never make you do that again. And then Fitz like takes a fork right out from under him while he's watching. And Shrewd is like, oh, all right. Mm-hmm.
And then he puts it in the
I'm going to have a good assassin in like 5 years.
He puts the thing he took into like the mantle in Chade's room, and they never bring it up, but it's just always there. Like it's mentioned that it was never ever removed, which is interesting, perhaps. And now the most important lesson is learned, where he gets to learn how to read and write by the scribe, because people can't do that. It's it's like medieval. People can't read.
Yeah.
But he can. And he can write. He's like, I want to... And he's like, because the scribe says, hey, Fitz, do you want to be my scribe boy? And Fitz is like, does that mean I get to travel? And he's like, yeah, it does. And then suddenly he's like, oh, I want to go see the world, Chade. Let me see the world. And Chade's like, what are you talking? Where's this? What? It's like, where is this coming
from? The nerd told me I can see the world.
And he's like, if you go around town proclaiming yourself, like the world, proclaiming yourself to be the most loyal guy to the king, they're going to shoot you in the head. He's like, you cannot. That is impossible. You cannot do that.
You can't go anywhere.
Because
Fitz is so little, it like never occurred to him that he could go anywhere, or like the places he was reading about are like real places he could go to.
Right. No, he just, and this is like the reason, part of the reasons he's trapped there is because chivalry, chivalry abandoned his life to keep him safe, because if chivalry was still around, then he'd have like double targets on his head. So chivalry's trying to help Fitz out, in a chivalrous but foolish way, which seems to be chivalry's whole his whole gimmick.
Yeah, it's almost like the way the characters are named. It's almost like obvious that like they are. I thought it was just interesting in like a very almost obvious way. Like they are what they are named, but like they're also flawed, but also like they are that to a fault, almost. Which is
that's
interesting.
Their flaw, is that they're that to a fault. Like it's not.
They're still like real people, I don't know.
Right?
People.
Yeah. It's like they're that virtue, and there's like even a moment later where Fitz, as the narrator, is like, also that's not like real. Like he's not. They're not named after that, and then therefore they are that. It's like they try to live up to that name, and that's why,
Well, I think there's something in the prologue where it's like, oh, the old magic of the land. They don't know, like, is it because they're named that? Is there some sort of magic bond between name and person? So it's sort of left open to interpretation a little bit.
And Fitz is exploring the town, and he sees Molly again. They haven't seen each other in a while, and they're hanging out. And then Regal and Verity like are suddenly there, and they see Fitz, and they freak out because they're like, "Wow, Fitz, you look just like your dad." Also, sorry, lol, but your dad is dead. And everybody's so sad, but Fitz is like, "Why do I care? Like, I never knew him. Like, fuck that guy." And Burke does something incredibly irresponsible, which is like, in this world, like, if your dad died and you have really long hair, you'd cut your hair really short. So that's what Berg does to Fitz. And it's like, Chade gets pissed because he's like, wow, what a way to remind everybody that you are his son. Like, that's insane. And Fitz he gets really mad with Chade, and, Chade tries to... he gets mad that his dad never visited, and he's like, why am I supposed to be sad? And Chade says... he left to try to save your life, but at the end of the day, he is the king's man, and he knew that you'd be useful to the king, and so that's why he left. And one of the and this Chade does something a little bit manipulative here, where he's like, chivalry was really good at diplomacy. You want to know why? And then he's like, points to himself. He's like, because I was killing the people who disagree with him. It's like,
and only then occurs to Fitz that, like, wait,
yeah,
you can be good at diplomacy by just killing the right person.
Yeah.
And then Chade's like, yeah, that's why you're here.
Yeah, and
this is your whole deal.
And Fitz gets super pissed, and he's like, I'm gonna quit being an assassin. And Chade's like, don't. And Fitz is like, all right, I won't.
Think about all the cool stuff you're learning. You're the coolest little boy there ever was.
He is the coolest little boy there ever was. The story is going around that Prince Chivalry died when he fell off his horse. But Chade is sitting there being like, that's a little weird. He was like one of the greatest horse masters ever. Isn't it weird? And Fitz is like, I think the queen did it. And Chade's like, whoa! Why? Where did you ever get that idea? Big wink. Huge, big, obvious wink.
And then they have a great Sherlock Holmes conversation.
They do, because, he didn't do it. like the assassin didn't do it, so therefore it couldn't be the king. And Fitz is like, good point.
So can you think of any other reasons that your dad might have fallen off a horse? And Fitz is like, well, maybe. And Shade's like, see, we can't jump to conclusions.
Mm-hmm. But it was come on. It was probably the queen who did it, because the queen's like, Shade's like, it wasn't the queen, but nobody hated your dad more than the queen. So wink, wink. I wonder who did it.
The queen hates Shrewd. The queen hates Shrewd's 2 sons. Now one of those sons is dead. The bastard is out of the way, and there's one son who's in the way, and he's kind of a doofus because his name is Prince Verity, and he's like too straightforward.
Yep, he's being constantly sent out on diplomatic missions that are destined to get him killed.
Well, and he also like has no eye for negotiations because he's so straightforward. Because they get, I think the next thing is like they get sent out on a diplomatic mission to like
it is
this one kingdom they need to like house. They need to like man a watchtower to prevent raids, and Fitz sees all like the diplomatic gray area, and Prince Verity is like, I'm gonna tell him just to man the, like, I don't know what else to tell him, like just man the fucking watchtowers. What else am I gonna do? Like, you gotta do it, guy. It's very funny.
There's one more thing in this chapter is where the King's Fool gives his riddle to Fitz. The King's Fool never talks to anybody, but he like meets Fitz in the woods, and he says, he just like starts saying this over and over again. He says, Fitz, Fitz's, Fices, Fitz, fat suffices. And he gets he gets him to enunciate a little more, and it's like, Fitz, fixes, Fices, Fitz, period. Fat suffices, period.
And the way it's written is so great because it starts like it's total gibberish. And so even you as the reader, you're like, what? Yeah. And then he says it a bunch of times, and then Fitz like starts talking to the fool, like the fool's like, "Hey, it's okay. Are you lost? Did you hit your head?" And the fool is like, "No, you idiot. Listen to what I'm saying." Like he's like an adult who can still talk. It's so funny.
And then Fitz is like, oh my god, because everybody thinks like the fool is like an idiot, but then the fool's like, no, you have to listen to me, this is important. And Fitz is like, what?
This is a fucking riddle, you child. I say riddles. I'm saying a riddle now. Listen to me. And he says it again.
So Fitz gets his mission to go with Verity, and there's this moment where Chade says like, you're there to maybe kill Duke Kelvar if you have to. That's why you're there. You're there to spy and maybe assassinate him. And the chapter ends with this like really depressing realization that it's like, he's like, I believe, if I remember correctly at the time, I was 13 years old. And it was like, oh my god, this poor bastard.
Yeah. And he does sort of have to come to he has to come to terms with the fact he's like, oh, I do actually have to kill someone.
Yeah, maybe. It's not just hanging out with a cool grandpa. It is like,
we gotta go. Maybe killing someone someday. And
no, it's killing someone.
Chade
now.
is like, your first one's the hardest one, so get it out of the way. Oh, you'll never forget it. But
he asks Chade if he remembers his, and he's like, we don't really talk about people in our line of work don't really talk about that, but yes, it was very hard.
Also there's only one of me, and I would never have ever met an assassin ever in my entire life. Yeah. Like, there's only 2 of us in this whole line of work, so
true.
It's like, kid, don't ask me about this stuff.
And then in retrospect, this next chapter is the funniest thing in the whole world, because this is where we meet the lady Time.
Now I fucking called this the second she was like a old woman in a little wagon being mean. I'm like,
you knew it was Chade?
I immediately knew it was Chade, and then it went on for like a chapter longer than I expected it to, and I'm like, okay, no, it's not Chade, it's just a funny lady. And then the 3rd chapter is when it's revealed it is Chade in disguise, and I felt very vindicated, even though I was fooled secondarily after it went on for too long.
Yeah, Lady Time's biggest character trait is that her poops smell really bad. Her chamber pot is disgusting, and she's annoying as hell. And And then do you think so, Danilo? Do you think that Chade takes stinky poops, or do you think that was like spices and
I think that's the powders that he has. That's part of his toolkit is stinky poops.
Yeah,
because it keeps people. That's like when you have 30 years of assassin experience. You're like, the stinky poops are central to my disguise because then people leave me alone.
This is the chapter where, Danilo, you just said Verity is like, I'm just going to tell him to man the watchtower. And Fitz notices that the Lady Grace, so this guy, Kelvar, the guy he's been sent to kill, his wife is, like, decked out in, like, Supreme and Balenciaga.
And she's, like, 16, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, and Fitz is like, oh, I think I see where all the money supposed to pay the people to man the watchtower is. She's wearing it and holding it with jewelry and stuff. And so, the next chapter begins with some weird parts about the Fool, where it's like some people have thought he's like an alien. It's like, but that can't be true because he doesn't have webbed hands. This is maybe important. The Fool is see-through, or like you can see his veins and stuff because his skin is translucent.
I wonder, he's probably like albino or something, or something.
I feel like it's more than that. I feel like you can really like.
It's one of those transparent fish you see at PetSmart.
Yeah,
like you can see their lungs.
The Fool has got to be some sort of homunculus, like spy created by Jade, or
made of clay or some
controlled by Jade or by some because there's a moment where Fitz talks to Chade about the Fool, and the entire the book literally describes Chade has his hand over his mouth because he can't stop laughing, and he's like So I was like, I feel like he's gotta be he has to know because Chade knows everything. He disguises himself as a funny old lady. This is where Fitz gets hungry. Danilo, do you want to talk about his and Lady Grace's
his midnight
rendezvous?
snack?
Yeah.
So Fitz is up all night thinking about all the politics of this whole situation and this mission, and he's sort of like, so I probably don't have to kill Lord Kelvar because the issue is he's decking out his wife with a bunch of jewels. And Fitz is having a little snack, and this girl walks in with her dog, and he's kind of having dog's having some tummy issues, and she's kind of freaking out because the dog looks like it's gonna die, like it's hacking up stuff and everything, and
it's gross.
And Fitz knows a thing or two about dogs, so he goes up and he's like, hey, stop trying to feed it like cake.
He's really rude to her.
It's sick. Lady, you don't know anything. Give it to me. Stop trying to just give him some water. Stop trying to feed him. And it's like, what? And Fitz is like, what has he been eating? And the girl's like, fish. And Fitz is like, you fucking dumb idiot. Why were you feeding a dog fish? Do you know anything about dogs? You dumb idiot. And he figures out that there's a bone in this dog's throat. And that's if the dog swallows it, it's going to rupture stuff and die. And Fitz is like, okay, hold this dog as tight as you can. Don't let go. And Fitz finds some sort of metal hook kitchen utensil thing, greases it up with butter, slides it down the dog's throat, and yanks out the bone. And yay, the dog is fine. And the big reveal is that this was the princess from dinner.
Yep.
And Fitz is like, oh no,
shit.
But he's he's so also wait, this is my shot. Which I think is fantastic. He pretends he has a dream where he's
I love this. And he oh my god, it's so good.
This is Fitz Chivalry Farseer improv comedian extraordinaire.
He is. And even at the end he's like, that wasn't very good, and I'm like, are you kidding me? That's perfect.
Yeah, he's so he's posed as this servant boy who's visiting on this diplomatic mission, and the princess is like, "Oh, who are you?" And Fitz is like, "I was awoken by a dream, and I had a dream that you funded all of the guard towers, and they were the pride of your kingdom, and they weren't the jewels. Your jewels weren't the jewels on your necklace. They were the jewels on the coastline that."
Which is...
The jewels are your infrastructure that you maintain. And everyone respected you after that. And the princess is like, wow, that's an awesome dream, man. And Fitz is like, phew, I hope this works.
That thing about the jewels, did you catch this? It is what Prince Chivalry said to that woman that Burke, that story he told, where Prince Chivalry takes that woman and like all their retinue up onto the castle, and he's like, the most expensive jewels I have are actually those glittering watchtowers. So he just stole that from his dad, which is awesome.
Cool. I didn't notice that. That is awesome.
But yeah, so she's like, good night, Verity's boy, or whatever, and he goes away, and Fitz is like, man, that's gonna be so awesome. I can't wait to wake up tomorrow and get to realize what happened. And then he closes his eyes, and then he opens them, and one of Verity's men is like, Lady Time is dead, and you need to go help her. And he's like, oh my fucking god. And so he gets up and he goes, and they open the door, and Shade's in there, and he's like, I'm Lady Time, I got you, I tricked you. And we have a new mission. We have to go to the village of Forge, which was attacked by the Red Ship Raiders, which are like a mysterious cult-like Out Islander crew.
Yeah, there's like normal raiders, but these Red Ship Raiders have been extra vicious, and like it's hinted like they're looting, but they're like not taking anything, like they're just being destructive, and so they don't really know what's going on, or like they seem to know exactly where the king's men are and which towers aren't armed, so they can sneak by them. So it's very, very fishy stuff going on here with the Red Ship Raiders.
And King Shrewd, the what do you call it? The ultimatum that the Red Ship Raiders give King Shrewd is, we will give us gold and we will kill the people we've captured, or don't give us anything and we'll give them back to you. And so King is like, I don't know what that means. He's like, I don't know what that means, so send that little boy and that old man there to see what's going on. And so they do. And they have Chade does a bunch of, and this is not a joke, Chade does a bunch of cocaine so that he can ride his horse really good. And Fitz is like, I've heard cocaine is pretty dangerous. And he's like, whatever, I'm old.
And Chade is like, it's fine, I'm old, I do this all the time.
And so it's called Charis seed, which I guess is like, it's like cocaine and LSD like mixed together. Like can be a powerful. It makes it sound like it can be like a powerful psychedelic, because like there's a party where the whole part of the party, it's like the Spring Fest thing. It's like fucking music festival where everybody does it and has a good time. So I don't know, but they get to the village and it's all fucked up and it seems empty. And Shade's like, wow, there's nobody here. And Fitz is like, yeah, really, there's 0 people here. And Shade's like, wait, look, there's all those people. And Fitz thinks this is weird.
Fitz freaks out.
Because a lot of things happen at once. Like, even he, as the narrator, says, so a lot of things happen very quickly. One, he realizes that he's not just very attentive. He can, like, magically sense the threads of life that connect everybody.
Yeah.
2, he realizes that he can't feel anything from any of these people
that they see. Yeah.
And so I think the combination of that, he freaks out that he's like a magic boy, and also this magic has been like severed from these people. It's
like these people, like the threads connecting them to the rest of humanity have like been severed, or like their souls have been removed or something. And then Fizz is like, we got to get out of here.
And they're not, this is important, they're not zombies. Like, they can still talk and communicate. It's just like, they just like walk around raping and killing each other and stealing stuff, and like,
yeah,
they're not people anymore. They're husks.
Yeah, they can talk, but they don't like, they seem to have no like empathy or social connection. Like, they basically turned into sociopaths or psychopaths.
Yeah, they do. And Fitz tells Chade that he's he's like, no, it's magic. I can sense the life force. And Shade is like, what are you talking about? No, you can't. He thinks like that's crazy. And then this, I don't know what, I feel like in any other book I would hate this. But there's like this group of survivors from the village, so not the crazy people. And they see Chade, and they're like, oh my god, that's the Pocked Man, who's like, you know, death, like their version of death or whatever.
And Chade is like, oh, not this again. Let's go to the woods. He's like he's over the fact. He's like, Fitz, oh, come on, I can't believe you made these people see me. Now they think I'm the Grim Reaper again.
It's so funny. And then literally like later, like in the next 2 chapters, people are like, did you see that the Pocked Man was at Forge? And it's like, holy shit, that's how scary Chade looks.
It spreads across the country that the Pocked Man was there at Forge. And Chade is like, this is the last thing we need.
And then Chade, like, they get back to Buckkeep. The people are mad at the king that the Red Ship Raiders were there to get through. Because if you remember, the whole point was to prevent raids from getting to Kelvar's place. So while Prince Verity was gone, somehow these raiders got in here. So it doesn't make Verity look good either. And Shade's like, so this is really bad. And I just petitioned the king, and he's going to teach you how to be a magic boy. Because I do believe that you can do it. I do believe what you said.
And they like, he needs special permission because they like outlawed it. Also,
King Shrewd made it specifically like
skill.
Yeah, he does. All the princes do. Like King Shrewd, it's actually really interesting. The skill is very common. It's just that when King Shrewd became the king, he made it so that like he spread all these rumors around that it was like bad and dangerous, so that it became like a royal ability when it really isn't. It's like I
wonder if that's the difference when Burrick said like it's the wit. Like the wit is probably like the common thing, but like the skill is the more like taught, honed secret power.
Because I imagine when you just use the skill lazily, you would maybe turn into a dog man if you only ever talk to a dog. But I doubt whether or not like somebody very proficient in the skill like King Shrewd would happen to. So yeah, I think you're probably right. Also, it runs incredibly strong in the Farseer line, which is what like it is a common ability, but the thing that does separate them rather than like the propaganda is that they are actually better at it because they're from like this mysterious magical island or whatever, because they're not from the Earth. There's like this whole thing about like the sea people. There's like this ancient story that I feel like is probably more real than people think, where like the sea god made the sea people strong and the earth god made the earth people weak. I don't know. There's like this whole, there's a lot going on.
And the Farseers, the rulers of the 6 duchies, like descend from the Out Islanders, but there's like still current Out Islanders, and they have these like traditions. So it's I mean it's Vikings in England. Like that's basically what it is.
Yes, it is.
I was gonna say the whole the Red Ship Raiders keep doing this to more people. It sort of becomes like a thing that happens in the villages, and people are worried about getting forged or like
it's fucked up. What a fucking
people.
That is such a fucked up way to describe what's happening.
The people whose like souls are removed or whatever's happening, because we don't know, are called the Forged because like it first happened in this town. And King Shrewd is like not doing anything about it, and Fitz is sort of like, why isn't he's so shrewd, why is he not doing anything about it? Because like if he made a decision either way, like if he makes the we don't negotiate with terrorists policy, then like that'd be fine. Or if he said like, hey, we're gonna pay these Red Ship Raiders these ransoms, like that'd be fine. But he doesn't
just needs to do
either of those things, and that sort of causes chaos, and like the villages like start rebelling, or like, oh, we've got to take things into our own hands, and so we don't really know where this is going to go.
We also forgot to say something earlier that in one of the, like we said, the beginnings of the chapters are like this history book that Fitz is writing, and Fitz is like, Queen Desire died of being poisoned. And like even in the history, he's like, that was weird, huh? It's like, that's interesting. And then this is where because I completely forgot about that. And then in this chapter, Chade brings up that like Regal is trying to get in a position of power because his mom is dead.
And his mom is the second one, right?
Yeah,
the second queen.
Yeah.
I think I totally missed that because then they started talking about her like she was dead, and I totally missed it. I'm like, wait, she died? Are they talking about the first queen or the second queen? But I mean, like, Chade poisoned her, right?
Right. Yeah. I think that, like, Chade is not pumped about that, but he's the king. He would never not do what the king said, He's loyal to a fault. And so Regal is, like, spending a bunch of money. He's like Lady Grace, the princess from the other place. He's, like, decked out and being rich, and Verity doesn't understand the reality of the situation, and Shrewd is being blamed for, like, keeping his pocketbook tight and not spending any money.
Well, but doesn't it also say that, like, Shrewd is favoritizing Prince Regal, or, like, being blind to Prince Regal's like, faults, which is very unshrewd-like, but he could be playing the long game, and it could be the most shrewd move of all. I love King Shrewd. I think he's a great character. Me too.
He is a great character. Whenever he shows up, I get so excited. He's not really in it a lot, but it's always he's very good.
Conniving old man, and it's great.
He
is. In the hands of a lesser writer, it'd be cringe as hell. But I love King Shrewd.
Yeah.
Like, if you tell people, you're like, I'm reading this really good book, and the king is named King Shrewd, and he's very shrewd, and it's awesome. They'd be like, what? They were like, okay, have you not progressed? You're a baby. You're a baby who likes baby books.
Fitz goes to the kitchen, and there's, like, a beautiful Regal woman there eating alone, and he walks in, and she, like, freaks the fuck out.
Fitz is like, I'm gonna be rude to another woman in another kitchen again.
Yeah, and he's like it's, like, so awkward, and he wants to leave and eat his food elsewhere, but she's like, no, you have to sit here and eat it with me. And so they have a weird meal together. And instantly I'm like, oh, that's Lady Patience. Like, that, right. That's obviously
Fitz
Lady
doesn't
Patience.
understand it.
No, Fitz doesn't get it. But then
doesn't she leave? And she's like, and by the way, I'm Lady Patience. And Fitz is like, no.
No, that's later. He meets her two more times because he gets drunk.
That's right. Drunk 14-year-old boy. He's like, isn't he like 14 now? He's like 13.
Yeah, he's 14 now.
He gets drunk, but he's like gets strategically drunk. He's like, I'm too drunk to go home, but he knows, like, if I keep drinking, I'm gonna be hungover tomorrow. I'm like, dude, this is what I was doing in college. You're doing this. You're 13 years old.
No, this kid is awesome. He knows what's up.
He's smart. He can kill people. He's a super secret spy. He knows how to read and write, and
he's awesome.
He's like strategic about his alcohol, and he's 13 years old. I want to be this guy's friend. He can be in my frat.
He could. Rush. Sigma Chi Phi, bro. Yeah, he doesn't need to rush.
Yeah, Fitz is Sigma Chi.
I think this is the chapter 2 where there's a moment where he's like, even now, as I sit here writing with the drug in my blood, I struggle to remember some of this. And you're like, what did you just, what is going on in the future? You're drugged up in, like, a hospital somewhere? So Fitz gets fucked up, and the Lady Patience, we don't know it's her. So the lady shows up again at this bar, and he's like, I see Burrick didn't teach you very well. And he stands up and he's like, actually, Burrick taught me really well. I just am an asshole, so fuck you. And then he leaves.
Don't blame my drunkenness on Burrick. Blame it on me, because I'm a drunk little boy.
And then he opens the door to his room, and she's standing there, and she's like, do you listen to music? Do you read poetry? And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, this is unacceptable. And then she walks away. And then he talks to Chade, and Chade's like, so you met the Lady Patience, huh? And he's like, what? It's like, oh no, I've been so
stepmom.
And so Patience has petitioned the king for some manners for Fitz. So, like, he's gonna have to learn poetry and music and stuff.
As if this poor kid, he's like, He's working stables. He's fighting with sticks. He's doing assassin night school, and now his stepmom is gonna make him learn how to sing.
He's taking 48 college credits,
and he still is finding time to get drunk and spend time with his
to get
girlfriend that's
drunk.
older than him in town.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then the Lady Patience convinces King Shrew to not only let him learn how to use the skill, but get taught by like the best guy. And Chade is like, yeah, so one thing about your teacher, he hates you, he's gonna probably try to kill you. He's like, oh, okay. So he's not really pumped about that. And the fact that he's gonna learn the skill this properly, he's like, oh, this red ship stuff is probably pretty bad.
This is probably gonna be the plot of the series.
Yeah, and Chade's also like, oh, by the way, I'm the king's brother. And he's like, oh
yeah,
okay.
That's right. Chade
And that's why Chade, but Chade never learned it because bastards can't learn the skill, so Chade never learned it. I think that's it.
Yeah, it's sort of
pretty sure that's everything that happens.
Yeah, the where we split it off is he's about to go learn the skill.
He is by Galen, a queen's man if there ever was.
This is awesome.
It is awesome.
And
it is fucking fantastic.
It's crazy because I don't know how this will sound, us talking about it. It may sound like the least awesome or least interesting thing in the world, but I think it's just proof that the way you write things is what makes them good or bad.
Oh, yeah.
And I just felt like it's so grounded and so like it nails that like being a kid feeling in not like a cringy way, because I think you read about, oh, it's a coming of age fantasy novel, and I just want to roll my eyes like, oh, little boy's gonna be good at everything and then take down the big evil thing. And yes, but it's good. It's like good, and it's not good because it's fantasy. Like I think the mistake some authors go is like, we're gonna make more fantasy stuff and that's what's gonna make it good. But like, it is really like, it's the characters, like they feel really human and real, and they have human relationships, and like Fitz feels like a kid and he is worried about little kid stuff and he misses adult stuff and the adults treat him like a kid. Like he's not adult male fantasy writer masquerading as child.
Right, no, he's like a kid.
Yeah, it's so good.
It is. It's awesome. You should read this book. Hopefully they only get better.
I think they do. And I've heard the next trilogy is people's favorites. Do you know anything about it?
No,
it's
do you?
The Live Ship Traders trilogy, and I'm psyched about it. It's about a family of traders who work and live on living ships.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Whatever that means, but I'm on board.
Is it part of this world?
Yeah, it's Realm of the Underworld. It's like the next trilogy after the Farseer.
Oh, that's
trilogy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I part of me thinks perhaps Hardcover Hooligans has just stumbled upon the next 2 years of content.
But I messaged you after I blew through the first half of this book and was like, I am fucking pissed. I have to wait 2 weeks to read these books, because otherwise I'd be scarfing them down like they're book
just tearing
muffins. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I've been doing. It's like, because we listener, you may realize we trade off the discussion sometimes. Remember when this podcast started and the whole point was one of us read the book and one of us didn't? Oh well,
who cares? And then we read a book and we're like, who cares?
So I think it's fair for the person leading it to be able to read ahead to help maybe facilitate a fun discussion. So Danilo, if you want to read them, you can. As soon as they're available, you can blow through all 3 of them.
I'm also reading other stuff, so I'll see how I feel.
No, you're not. You don't know how to read. This is all you read. You have the Spark Notes pulled up, and you're like, yeah, this part of the book, yeah.
Yeah, I read Wikipedia summaries and then add it to my Goodreads.
That's right. Yeah,
I read it.
That's what people do too.
I know what happened.
I read 900 books this summer. Okay.
Were they all 80-page self-help books where you can look up 3 bullet points and that's the whole book?
They were all self-help journals. Those are books I was reading. Guided meditation journals.
20-page self-published fantasy novellas.
God, that's our niche right there, man. We gotta read. Hey, if you have a friend and they have published a fantasy novel, send it along. I'm trying to read more stuff nobody's ever heard of.
Also, if you've ever read something so bad you were shocked and appalled, please send it to us. I would love to read it.
I was bored by this, like appalled by this. That's an important.
Right.
Like, it's awful.
Because that's what makes it fun. I like how we do one episode on half a book we both really liked, and immediately we're like, this is too good. This is too good to be interesting. We need to read more garbage. Please send us more garbage.
Yeah. Oh, hey, it's fun. Fun to read garbage schlock, except it's really not in the moment. It is not fun in the moment.
It's fun to read good. It's fun to read Robin Hobb, Assassin's Apprentice.
True, and that, I think, is a good note to end on.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say, Danilo?
No, I'm excited. I literally don't know what's going to happen.
I'm excited too.
So
me neither. I'm pumped. So follow us on Instagram at hardcoverhooligans.com and send us an email. Wait a minute. What did I just say?
Follow us on Instagram. You're right. Yeah.
Didn't I see at hardcoverhooligans.com? I don't think that's...
I feel like you've done that like 4 different times.
I just love doing it. Okay, we don't have a website. So I don't know where the .com comes from.
I mean, technically, our podcasts are hosted on a website if you want to listen to them in your internet browser.
That's true. You could do that. But our email is hardcoverhooligans@gmail.com.
There we go.
Instagram at hardcoverhooligans.
We post about our episodes only.
Yeah, we do. We do. I'm sort of bad at social media, but I mean,
me too. Whatever. Who cares?
Please leave a review with your thoughts about the podcast, and shouts out to that listener. We do know your name, but I'm not gonna put you on blast here.
We know your name, your address, your phone number. We're not gonna dox you on air unless you wire 250,000 euros to this following bank account.
Oh, it's like you're like the good version of the Red Ship Raiders. You'll only dox them if they send you money, and otherwise nothing bad is going to happen at all.
Otherwise, I rip the souls from everyone they've ever loved.
No. That'd be crazy. I can't wait to learn what that's all about. That's insane.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks for listening. If you are reading along, we're just going to finish the book because we've read a little bit more than half this time, or maybe a little bit less than half, actually. But we're just going to finish the book for next time and talk about it as a whole. And then I believe the plan is to just keep on keeping on with this series. So
yep.
If you like it and want to read along, that is the plan. All right. Stay hard, everybody.
Go do it. Go mind meld with a dog or something.
Oh, yeah. Go turn into a beast man.